Hi, I'm Pantazi. Got a question in from one of the subscribers here on the YouTube channel, Greg Daniels. Now, Greg had asked me, he had seen a film on a recount of an old 1900s fight where Motobu and a Western boxer had a fight, and Motobu knocked the boxer out with an open hand strike to a specific point. Now, that specific point is actually called Jinchu from Ohan Soken's notes. Now, Ohan Soken, and Greg went on to ask, could I give him an idea of open hand strike that would work, and what was the mechanism, what was the trajectory to strike, and to get the technique down for himself or to understand the dynamics a little better. So taking that old fight between Motobu and the Western boxer again was knocked unconscious with an open hand strike to this target. Now in Ohan Soken's notes, as I was beginning to mention, there's a point called Jinchu. And Jinchu is right on the philtrum, right in between the nose and the upper lip. Now before I get into the description of it, what I want to say is there's many targets in the Ohan Soken's notes, and I know many people claim that they weren't Ohan Soken's, they were Fusei Kisei's or some other instructor, and to me it really doesn't matter whose notes. I call them Ohan Soken's notes because that's the way they were presented to me. So when you take a look at these notes, it's interesting to note that they don't talk about pressure points. There's no mention of pressure points or traditional Chinese medical terminology like yin and yang or fire melts metal. All of that's gone. What it describes is a strike, a number of tools that you could use to get in there, the results of it. And the results, they break down like neurological shock, hypovolemic shock, which is blood related, also fatal actions, it's got fainting actions. So they're broken down in Western terminology, damage to the cranial nerves, not in this pressure point backed up the chi up into whatever the pressure point guys want to tell you. So they were actual targets with actual Western terminology and medical breakdown from what they observed. You got to remember that the Chinese weren't all traditional Chinese medicine. They knew anatomy, they did dissections, they did amputations, whatever they had to do on the battlefields and in health-related practices, they got into it as well. So anyway, again, it's not a pressure point. Now there is a pressure point here. It's called CV24 or consumption vessel 24, but it's not the pressure points. So what is it then? And what are the hand positions or the tools that we can use? And more importantly, what are the trajectories? Now, I'm going to describe it a little bit in this film here for YouTube. I'm going to save the demonstrations and the deeper anatomical illustrations and discussions and information in the extended videos, and that can be here on YouTube. You could join the extended video membership, the Platinum service, which has 80 of these things, it's got actually over 250 films right now, but also the Patreon, so you can catch up on the extended video if this interests you and you want to learn exactly how to do it, see it being done so you can see the effects. All right, so there's no particular nerve that runs straight down the face here. There is deep inside the palate and in back of the bone, but to get that from the surface, it's not really possible, okay? It is possible to vibrate it, okay? But we'll get into that later in the extended videos. Superficially, you have the infraorbital nerves that exit the skull from a foramen. Now, a foramen is a hole in the skull tissue, where a nerve exit, in this case the infraorbital nerve. Now the infraorbital nerve spreads across the whole sinus area and down into the lip. Now you have two infraorbital nerves, they reach down in here, and of course there are little fibers that transfer across the upper lip. So you're basically attacking the infraorbital nerves. Now here's the tricky part when you go to practice this. When you go to practice, of course, you could damage the nose, cause the breaking of the cartilage. You could, of course, cause a lot of pain and grief to your training partner. You could also split, thicken, or fatten, or bloody the upper lip. You can also have the possibility of knocking out a tooth if you get over anxious. So this is a real hard technique to practice. So you want to take it slow and easy, but just get it into the idea of when you're doing whatever you're doing to get to that target slowly. So when you have to go faster, put more power in it, if you're in a real situation and don't care about the guy's nose, lips, or teeth, then go for it. Okay. Now several different hand positions you can use. Now you can parry the arm and come in with an iron bone, just cutting right across and into that area, right in through here. Okay, you could come in with what's called a leopard paw. There's many different hiraken. There's many different names for this fisted position here. You can use the classic ridge hand. You can use the classic shuto or the iron bone modern hand. Martial arts come from a frontal action and soft back to knuckle like kata nahanchi. Okay, there's many different tools you can use. You could brace the person's head and elbow that. You could headbutt it. I wouldn't recommend that because you get teeth down there. You don't want to be picking teeth out of your forehead. You could even grab the guy's head and bring it down onto a rising knee. The tool isn't really the important part as long as you have the accuracy. The tough part is most people's teeth extend a bit from their face as well as the nose. So getting a clean shot on that is not the easiest thing to do. And that's why I like a thinner weapon like the iron bone, the iron sword. You can use your blood pool hand, even the back knuckle that we were mentioning earlier. If you want to go in with complete force of a forearm or an elbow, you're just going to cause massive damage. If you want to practice the technique, you want to be a little bit more cautious, be using the shuto part, okay, and that's why I believe modern martial arts teach you to hit with the shuto, the soft muscle, so you didn't do the damaging on the person's skull. You start hitting with the specific knuckles, and you're going to cause splitting of the lips, lost tooth or a loosened tooth, many different damages, and that's not what we try to do when we practice. So again, when you're striking across there, what's going to happen is you're going to catch both nerves, okay? Especially if you lay something like a forearm or you use that shuto, you're going to catch both nerves. So you're using you're shocking the right and left hemispheres of the brain, causes major dysfunction. And when you see the demonstrations that we do in the extended videos, you'll see just even with the light hits, the little bumps that we give, you're going to see major dysfunction in the person. And the unconsciousness is really easy. We even go into a face choking application here. So again, it could be the infraorbital nerve. Was it? I don't know. Now in the notes it also says fatal. So we're digging in deeper. I'm getting a lot of information from doctors. We're really exploring this. Dr. Jacob McClintock that has worked on it with me on the Shichen. He's also researching it. We'll come back later with a very detailed film of why that could be fatal. Why it knocks someone out, that's what we're discovering now and we're employing now. The fatality we'll get into a little bit later. And we'll be doing demonstrations, not of course to kill the guy, okay, but to put in a little more zest into the technique so we can observe the ramifications on the body, because that's what we do. We don't just talk the game, we put people through this, and I also get it myself, because I want to understand this. You have to give it, get it to give it. All right, when you get it and you feel where the neurological shock goes to, when you feel your body collapsing or your blood pressure rising, whatever the ramification of that particular technique is, if you haven't felt it, you don't understand it fully. Okay, when you feel it, you not only understand it more readily what you're doing to the person and understand how to do it just a little bit better and how to enact that on the person because you already felt it and you felt the surge of either the blood or the nerve shock, you will be able to apply it to a person a little bit easier. It's called empathy. So that's why we always like to do the hands-on training and get the information, but put it in our hands, in our practices, and work it from a standing, slow-paced idea so we get the slow feel, we understand terrain, we understand the body structure as we're going in. We can get slow enough that we can actually feel the actual nerves or blood vessels, whatever we're working with. And then when we get a little faster and put stress-induced training into it, we get more accurate. So again, Greg, thank you for the question. Great question. If you have a question out there, put it down. I can't always get to them, but some of them I like to tackle, and it all depends on the situation. But please ask your questions. I do answer all good questions personally. So it might take a week before I find it or get to it because sometimes YouTube hides these things. So anyway, if it's a good question like this, I'm going to try to answer it the best I can and always demonstrate. I love to demonstrate. Some of the more superficial questions I can just answer like that, maybe show you an anatomical drawing. But I do like to demonstrate these because I don't want to just be telling you, okay, yeah, this will work. I've seen so many pressure point videos on YouTube where they say you just hit them and they'll fall down, they'll be knocked unconscious. Well, they don't demonstrate it. So how the heck do you know? Okay, and if you've never done it, you just don't know. Okay, there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes, or not even behind the scenes, under the skin, that you have to enact. And the only way to get better at that is actual training, actually dropping people and seeing the results. So anyway, again, join up for the extended videos, whether it's on the Platinum service at Kyusho.com, whether it's in Patreon/Kyusho, or whether it's here on this channel. Just join the extended videos to see the demonstrations, the anatomical breakdowns, and we'll trace the nerves for you so you can see exactly what's going on. Thanks for watching. Again, Greg, thanks for the question. Great question.